Hello, welcome back to No Quarter Crusade. I am your host, Uxie. Today we are going to discuss certain things that have been on my mind lately. Substance. We need to focus on what is being said, not how it's being said. People don't understand why it's very concerning when people say things like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It absolutely is not about how you say it. It is absolutely about what is being said. There are so many people out there walking around today who have passed up really, really deep and important knowledge that has come into their life, all because they didn't like the tone. That's so stupid that people would pass on wisdom from age to age and people would ignore it purposely because they don't like the person saying it. That is so stupid. So this is something that you need to avoid. If you ever catch yourself saying something like this, well, it's not what you said, it's how you say it. If you ever say something like this or you're about to say it, shut the fuck up. It doesn't matter the tone. It matters what the substance is. Get out of your feelings. There are going to be people who present really valuable information in a really uncomfortable way that you really don't like. Maybe it's going to make your tum hurt. Maybe it's going to make you a little uncomfortable. Maybe you might even get your panties all twisted up. But you can't ignore good information because of your feelings. That is so stupid. Stop letting that happen in your life. The whole concept of this rests on the one basic malfunction that undermines everything good and true and beautiful in our modern society. And that is the idea that truth is subjective. Truth is not subjective. Truth is objective. There are things that exist outside the mind. There are things that exist outside of you. And no matter how much you wish them away, we all have to take it upon what's called a basal assumption, which is that we all are here and we all live on the same playing field and we all interact with each other, and this is what we understand as real. But obviously, it's called the basal assumption for a reason, because it has to be assuming the fact that we're here. So assuming that we're all here, we have to do this in order to function, okay? So we've all already accepted this. So even with the simulation theory, we don't even act as if it's a simulation. We act as if things are real. The basic fundamental malfunction in our society is that people think that there's no such thing as objective truth. If you start thinking that there's no such thing as objective truth, well, if truth is subjective, who's to say who has the right one? And then it ends up boiling down to personal and individual interpretation. That's what it turns into immediately. And so that's why you have people who are saying that they're like trigender all of a sudden, and that there always were trigenders, and that there always were bifocal genders. You see, these are the things that come up when you have no understanding underneath you. You have blown out the substrate of everything that makes your society enjoyable and good and functional. You just destroyed it all. If you have no epistemology, no way to know why you know what you know or how you know what you know, if you have no way outside of your own personal understanding to say, this is solid, I know this, you cannot make any prescriptions at all when it comes to policy, when it comes to family life, when it comes to philosophy or theology. You can't make any positive claims at all because you've conceded the fact already that your answer is going to be just as good as mine. So it doesn't matter. And this is why it's a real problem, is because if I were to come up with a situation like this, say you're arguing with a utilitarian and we have a birth rate crisis, and I decide, since I'm the hegemonic leader, right, I just say we're going to lock up all of the women and we're going to put them in breeding facilities. And that way, we'll have enough kids. You'll be able to pick your partner, but you do have to have kids and you have to stay within these facilities. It's highest util, it's fixing a problem. How are you going to say that's bad if you're an atheist? How are you going to say that that's bad if you're a secular humanist? How are you going to say that's bad if you don't have an epistemological basis? If your understanding of truth butts up against mine and they meet equally, you cannot tell me that that's wrong. And then we move into consent, do we? Okay, so it's because they don't consent. Well, you curtail things that people consent to all the time. People can consent to do all kinds of horrible things. I don't need to list off all of them, but picture one. Picture a really egregious one. We say that that's wrong and we punish people for it. But why? Why? What if they say they're not wrong? Now it's your interpretation against theirs, and they'll say, oh no, because most people agree with me. Okay, well, if most people agree with someone, does that make them correct? As an atheist, If you don't believe that God's real, you're going to have a real trouble with this argument, because most people were Christian for a very long time in this culture. But if we're wrong, then we can't run on consensus now, can we? So there are things like this that you need to walk through, and that these are things that people don't seem to tangle up with. People seem to want to ignore this. People want to act like it doesn't matter, or that it's just, it's outside of their purview, or like, I don't know, maybe they're just not smart enough. I don't think it's because they're not smart enough. I think everybody's smart enough to understand this. This is about as simple as it actually gets. How do you know what you know? That is a fundamental question that needs to be answered on every single individual level. Because if you don't answer it, we have a bunch of people who don't know what it is. And then if you don't know what it is, your entire system becomes completely arbitrary, and people just end up worshiping their nerve endings like they're doing right now. That's the end of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of No Quarter Crusade. I'm going to be doing some stuff like this. It'll be some reaction videos. It'll be some things like this. I'm just a noob giving my opinion on the world and trying to deliver it in the most honest way I possibly can. And so with that, God bless you guys. For real, thank you for sticking around. Drop a like, a follow, and a subscribe, homies. And y'all have a blessed day.